In this video, I'll give you the 5 strategies that I use to manage my own pile of works in progress. Maybe some of the strategies that I use will also work for you. Hi, welcome to Music Maker. I'm Harriet. I've been a knitter and crocheter for a little over 40 years now, and a couple of years ago I learned to spin and weave as well. This channel is where I come to talk about my works in progress and the various challenges that I set myself in the field of the fiber arts. My hope is that you'll find content here that's useful to you on your own fiber arts journey, and that you'll like and subscribe and come back again and again. So I'm guessing you've probably seen some of the videos out there in which crafters go through their existing pile of works in progress and try to figure out whether to finish them or frog them. And in some cases, that pile of works in progress is particularly large. Of course, large is a subjective term, right? To someone who's a monogamous knitter or crafter, 2 projects is too much. But to those of us like me who are not monogamous knitters or crafters, we like to have multiple projects on the go simultaneously, 2 probably doesn't seem like a lot. So how many WIPs is too many? Is 3 too many? What about 5? Is 10 too many? How about 20? At some point, it becomes a little bit like that, famous Monty Python skit where they're reading about the holy hand grenade, and they talk about how 3 is the number and 4 is right out, right? It gets a little bit like that when we try to figure out how many works in progress is too many, right? We know too many when we have too many. If you said, no, 3 is not too many, but maybe or yes to 10 or 20, then you're like me, right? A non-monogamous crafter who likes to have a decent number of projects on the go, but also knows that they run the risk of ending up with a sense of overwhelm, right? Too many works in progress that you're not going to be able to make progress on or finish. Currently, I have 8 active WIPs, or works in progress, and 6 hibernating works in progress. Of the 8 active WIPs that I have, 2 are nearly finished. Right? We're talking 80%, 90% done. So how do I manage to kind of grapple with the number of WIPs that I have out there without feeling overwhelmed? Well, my first tip or strategy is that I never got on the project bag bus. So for years, I actually had only 1 project bag, and I lived in a small space, so I just really didn't have a lot of places to store my projects. And I would tend to, if I did have more than would fit in my bag, right? I always had multiple projects going, but if they wouldn't fit in this rather large project bag that I had, I would put them in the closet, on the floor of the closet, or, at some points I thought, oh, it'll be nice, to have it as decor, and so I put them in a basket in my living room. Well, one year I discovered that some of the yarn for a pretty elaborate work in progress that I had put in a basket in my living room had actually been sitting in the sun for a little while, right? I lost track of time, and so it sat in the sun for at least 1 summer, possibly more. And as a result, that wool got dry and brittle and would basically snap if you tried to use it. So that rather expensive event was the first step in getting me more aware of how I store my projects and where I store my projects. Like, once I realized that, no, I can't keep them out someplace visible, I have to put them away somewhere, I went through my closet and kind of looked at all the various projects that were sort of piling up on the floor of my closet and realized that for me, out of sight, out of mind was not a good way of managing my works in progress. So that's basically what I try to do, is remember out of sight, out of mind. I like having my projects put away someplace safe, but if they accumulate in that safe place, then we're going to run into a problem. This leads me to my second suggestion for managing your works in progress, and it's one that's worked for me, which is basically have a designated place. It can be in Ravelry, it can be in a spreadsheet, it can be on a slip of paper that you thumbtack to a bulletin board or put on a magnet on your refrigerator, but have some place where you have documented and inventoried exactly how many works in progress you've got going. The key is you want to have some place where you can go and look at a glance and see, okay, exactly how much have I taken on here and what are the possibilities that I'm going to be able to finish this in a timely fashion or in a time frame that works for me. This leads me to the third strategy that I tend to use, and that I call it befriending the frog. So I did a whole video about when to knit and when to quit, and for me that mindset was a real game changer. Like paying attention to quitting sooner rather than later, right? So I would say, we all kind of know when we're working on a project, right? We got past that exciting, impulsive cast-on moment, and now we sort of know that, I don't know if I'm really going to enjoy working on this particular project, but we keep going, right? And so, economists and psychologists will tell you that's sunk cost fallacy. You've already put the time in and invested the effort, and you feel like you're going to lose time and effort. You'll lose that. But you've already invested it. It's already there. You're not going to get that back. The question is, do you want to invest more time and more energy in this particular project? And I would say if your reaction is, I guess so, befriend the frog. Frog sooner rather than later. You can always restart the project if you decide later on that, I kind of want to give that a try. Maybe it's just not the right time for this particular cast on. My fourth tip is related to my third tip. So on the one hand, you want to befriend the frog and frog sooner rather than later. Related to that, I suggest that you as you embark on a project, read the pattern ahead of time, talk to other people about the project, and consider the fact that at some point you're going to be in the middle of that project, right? So, every cast on seems fun when you're just casting on, and similarly, a lot of projects seem, great when you're crossing the finish line with them. It's that middle portion that gets us, right? The miles of stockinette in the round. So I've learned to take a look at and think about the murky middle of a project, right? Is this project going to ask me to do 75 more bobbles than I've already done? I don't like to do bobbles, really. Is it going to require me to knit 3 together through the back loop 65 more times? I had a lace pattern one time that had a row that had knit 3 through the back loop at least 25 times. And I remember thinking, thank heavens this is the only row where this is happening, because I would be so done if it weren't. But I had already, it was a top-down project, top-down sweater with a lace yoke, and I was already invested in it. But I made the decision to continue on with it because I looked ahead and saw, okay, it's just this one row. I'll deal with it. Similarly, if you're working with a yarn in a color that you want to like, but you're not sure you do, or you're not sure that you like it for the particular project that you're working on, remember the frog can be your friend. Go back and, rethink that. Similarly, sometimes you start a project because it's trendy or it's popular, right? It's got an interesting construction or an interesting texture, and you think you want to hop on that bandwagon that everybody else is on. And then you get started with it and you're like, it's just not me. I don't really like working on it, and I don't really think I'm gonna wear it even. Again, remember the frog. And then my fifth suggestion is to basically kind of be wary of the impulsive cast on. Right? Sometimes casting on is, fun and exciting and new, and we just can't resist it. So I would say consider the fact that psychologists will tell you that basically any impulse that you have, if you can just wait 15 minutes, it's probably going to go away. Okay, so I've got a sixth bonus tip for you here, and it's something that I've talked about on my podcast episodes this month because it's a concept that I first encountered when watching Roxanne Richardson's YouTube channel, and that's what she calls Fix It or Finish It February. So one thing that you can also do is just have a designated month or 2 months out of each year in which that's what you're going to do. You're going to take stock of your works in progress, do the frog if it needs to be done, or commit to finishing. All right, even if you do that once or twice a year, only once a year, it will help you be more mindful of the number of works in progress that you have on hand and what your time commitment is going to have to be to move forward or make progress on them. So how many works in progress do you have? And do you have any particular tips or strategies for managing them that have worked well for you? If so, drop a comment down below. Love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you back here again next week. Have a great week.